So, ladies and gentlemen, when I mention this person who I think was the most credible and important and dynamic actor from the early 80s to the mid 80s, you're going to say, well, why didn't you tell me this years ago, Jeffrey? You were supposed to be a movie columnist. I've been thinking about this column since 1987 or 88, but I didn't have my remote controller screenshots column officially with the Irvings until back in the early 2000s. We're going to talk about the legendary, about 6 or 7 year run of the great John Lithgow. Now, before he was on Third Rock from the Sun, for a period about, like I said, 5 to 6 years, he was probably the biggest home run hitter on TV and in movies that probably the 80s ever saw. Bear with me for a second. He started in 1981 in the Brian De Palma critically acclaimed film noir Blowout with John Travolta. Then he was in the Jill Clayburgh, again critically acclaimed, drug addiction movie I'm Dancing as Fast as I Can. Then he played probably his most iconic role of the 80s as Roberta Muldoon, a former football wide receiver who decides to change genders and becomes the bodyguard for Robin Williams' mother, Glenn Close, in The World According to Garp, which led to a nomination. Then he appeared in the critically acclaimed TV movie Not in Front of the Children. Then he appeared as Yoda, the radio drama of the Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back. Then he ends up on Twilight Zone, the movie, in the Nightmare at 20,000 Feet segment. From there, back to TV the day after, one of the most important TV productions in relation to the Cold War and changed public policy in the States. Doesn't stop there, ladies and gentlemen. Ends up on Terms of Endearment as Sam Burns is probably one of the key supporting characters to the Deborah Winger film with Shirley MacLaine. Doesn't end there. He shows up on a critically acclaimed TV show, Fairy Tale Theater, as Goldilocks' father. Doesn't end there. He's in Footloose, one of the biggest musicals of the 80s, where it's the biggest soundtrack probably of any movie from the decade. Doesn't stop there. He gets into science fiction with the Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai across the eighth dimension as a dual role of Lord John Worfen and Dr. Emilio Lizardo. Doesn't end there, ladies and gentlemen. And he still finds time in 1984 to appear as Dr. Walter Kurnow in the sequel to 2001, one of the most underrated science fiction movies of all time, 2010. And he wraps up the big run in 86 and 87 with Amazing Stories, where he gets critically nominated for the episode The Doll, playing John Walters. Then appears in another science fiction project, The Manhattan Project, John Matheson, one of the best science fiction movie talking about time travel. And of course, he goes back to comedy in 87 with his iconic role in Harriet Henderson's. So here you have a performer, ladies and gentlemen. The perfect script, the perfect actor for the script, totally believable in different characterizations. And again, the most consistent actor. It's like you'd say, well, Lithgow had 3 hits. You can't have a fourth. Yes, you can have a fourth. Imagine this. If a baseball player's at the plate, he bats 16 for 17 over so many key games. The only bummer, ladies and gentlemen, and you can't hold against him, he was in Santa Claus the movie in 85, playing BZ. So he's allowed, one little misstep. But I saw him again, and that really stood out for me. It was The World According to Garp. You got to understand, ladies and gentlemen, the early 80s, the drive-in movie level was still high. Every movie we were going to see, Lithgow was there. Now, if the day after was a big screen release, you probably would have got a Best Supporting Actor nomination, for sure. Now, let's just recap a little bit about that era. Like I said, we're talking early 80s to the mid 80s. He got nominated for Best Supporting Actor in Terms of Endearment. He got nominated for Best Actor in a supporting role, and again, A World According to Garp. Primetime Emmys. He received Outstanding Supporting Actor, again, a limited series for the day after. He won the Primetime Emmy for Amazing Stories, and he was also the Outstanding Lead Actor in a miniseries or special. I forgot about A Resting Place. My My great apologies, ladies and gentlemen. Now, he won the Saturn Award for Best Supporting Actor for Twilight Zone in 1984, and continued to be recognized across the board. LA Film Critics, again, back to back, but he got a Best Supporting Actor nomination for the LA Film Critics in 83 for Twilight Zone and Terms, but won Best Supporting Actor for Garp. Now, here's the question: how come you didn't win a Best Supporting Actor award in that era? Well, it's still a wonderment, ladies and gentlemen. We really don't know why he was bypassed in 83 and 84, because just like Jason Robards, he should have won back-to-back. Robards won for President's Men and Julia. But let's look who he's up against for Best Supporting Actor, and maybe we can understand. He was up against James Mason, Lou Gossett Jr., Robert Preston, and Charles Durning. So the vote got split, ladies and gentlemen. There's nobody who was going to beat Lou Gossett Jr. that year. Lithgow probably got second place, maybe a high second place. But I see I rewatched the day after, just as a precursor, and a very minimalist performance in the movie. It's still very chilling. It's almost like 3 hours of basically a prediction of what occurred. But the Joe Huxley character is so positive towards trying to recover from the nuclear holocaust. But he's the smartest person, and he knows too much, and he doesn't really want to tell his students that this is it. He's still when he's working the shortwave, trying to contact different people. It's very sad, but he's the ultimate teacher in in this performance. So, ladies and gentlemen, I've never met John Lithgow, but I've met people who have worked with him, and he say the same. He's a very nice gentleman, very dedicated to his craft. But ladies and gentlemen, there wouldn't be enough awards that could be given to John Lithgow for that 5 or 6 year period, because he wasn't just he was doing stage work at the same time. There was an article in Twilight Zone magazine talking about, I think it was Requiem for a Heavyweight, I could be wrong, which obviously is a Rod Serling script. He was doing a lot of stage work. So I consider John Lithgow not only one of the most underappreciated actors of all time, he should win every award conceivable for what he's done. And how many jobs did he make with the productions that he was in there that allowed these productions to have the quality and respect? Tons. So that's my tribute to John Lithgow. Please check out all these movies we're talking about. His later work is excellent as well, for obvious reasons. But that period from the 80s, World According to Garp, you have to watch the whole movie. Don't watch the edited version, because it's out every once in a while. Watch the full unedited version. And the subtlety that he plays as the bodyguard for Glenn Close. In the show, Robin Williams' mother writes a book about feminism, and there's threats on his life. And there's a very dramatic scene where he tries to basically do something. I don't want to give away the movie, but it's very sad. And the post sadness of he's failed at something, put it that way, and it's just devastating. But like I said, Lou Gossett Jr. was a time for the black actors at the time. But if you went back in time, I'd like to check the ballots, ladies and gentlemen, because it might have been a tie. He should have given them both. But in terms of endearment, not too bad. But Garp is still people of a generation like me in their 50s remember many things about that movie. But what we do remember mostly is John Lithgow, the birth of a star. After a few years of building towards it, he became a star overnight. And Footloose too, when he plays the minister, when he tells the book burners to go home. My God, what a good actor. What a good actor. Have a good day. Bye.